to call this meeting of the House Energy Committee to order at 10:02. Nick, will you please call the roll?
Chair Fiedler,
Here.
Representative Boyd,
On leave? She's joined us online.
virtual.
Virtual.
Representative Brown,
On leave?
Representative Serrato,
On leave?
Representative Davidson,
On leave?
Representative Donahue,
On leave?
Representative Friel,
On leave?
Representative Giral,
On leave?
Representative Inglis,
Leave?
Representative McAndrew,
On leave?
Representative Pielli,
Also on leave?
Representative Rusnock,
On leave?
Representative Steele,
Present.
Representative Venkat,
On leave?
Chair Causer,
Here.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
On leave.
Representative Kale,
On leave.
Representative Kephart,
Here.
Representative Mihalik,
On leave.
Representative Rapp,
On leave.
Representative Stambaugh,
Here.
Representative Warner,
On leave.
Representative Williams.
On leave.
Attendance is recorded. Proceed, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you to the members of our committee, the testifiers who are joining us, and to guests for attending today's public hearing on House Bill 1539, printers number 1810, sponsored by Representative Madsen. This bill would create a grant program to assist school districts with the purchase of electric school buses. I had a chance to ride one of those electric school buses for the first time about a year and a half ago at Steelton High School, and it really made an impression. I was surprised at how dramatically quiet they are and how that noise change can have an impact on the students who ride on that bus. I got to hear firsthand from the driver of the school bus about the impact, and I really thought it was interesting and quite stunning. I know that electric school buses also have health and environmental benefits, and I'm looking forward to hearing from today's testifiers about those benefits, as well as the costs of this new technology. Before we begin, Chair Causer, do you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a number of questions, but I'm looking forward to what our testifiers have to say, so thank you.
Thank you. And we will get to questions after we've heard from all of the panelists. Before we do that, joining us is Representative Madsen, the prime sponsor of the bill. Representative, would you like to offer remarks before we hear testimony on the bill?
Yes, thank you to both chairs and committee members for the opportunity to give some brief remarks. Our students, I'll just get right to it because I know we have a lot to cover. Our students deserve to ride to school in vehicles that are cleaner, safer, and more reliable. And HB 1539 will help school districts transition from older diesel buses to electric school buses, reducing emissions, improving air quality in our communities. That matters especially in working class, often under-resourced districts across Pennsylvania, where the cumulative burden of older fleets and infrastructure gaps fall the hardest. Too often, wealthier school districts get first access to cutting-edge resources, while smaller, rural, or working-class districts fall behind. HB 1539 has the potential to ensure equitable access to grants so that no community is left behind in the clean transportation transition. Reliable, safe transportation is a basic underpinning of educating children. When students arrive clean, safe, and on time, the conditions for learning improve. Investing in this bus fleet, investing in the learning environment. So I wish to encourage everybody to have an open mind and ask thoughtful questions. And should you have any interest in riding an electric bus, Steelton School District is right down the way, so we can always set up a tour. So please come visit. We always like showing off our electric buses. And with that, turn it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative, for your comments and for bringing up this bill. Today we have 4 testifiers: Celia Kaczynski, Policy Manager for the Electrification Coalition; Chris D'Agostino, Principal at Advanced Energy United; and Ms. Alice Quack, Policy Research Associate at World Resources Institute. As well, we have Mr. Willie Slade, Assistant Superintendent at Steelton High Spire School District. Testifiers, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we plan to make good use of the time that you will have with us. Please know members already have your written testimony in their packets, so as much as possible, please summarize your remarks so that we can get to questions from the members. Again, we will hold questions until after everyone's testimony is complete. Today, we will start with Ms. Kozinski and Mr. D'Agostino. Would you please begin? Ms. Kozinski, would you please begin?
Yes, thank you, Chair Fiedler and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Celia Kozinski, and I'm a policy manager with the Electrification Coalition, and I'm speaking in support of House Bill 1539. This bill creates the Electric School Bus Grant Program at the Department of Education. The program sets up a dedicated fund to help school districts and transportation providers make the shift to electric school buses. Grants under this program can cover purchasing or converting buses to electric, installing charging infrastructure, and making electrical upgrades, workforce training, and also planning or administrative costs. HB 1539 brings together education, health, energy, and transportation priorities into one program. It ensures accountability by requiring the Department of Education to issue biannual reports to the Education, Transportation, and Energy Committees. Most importantly, it positions Pennsylvania as a leader in adopting cost-effective, forward-looking transportation for school districts. The program is designed as a competitive grant administered by the Department of Education, with clear criteria to make sure funds reach the communities that need them most. Priority will be given to districts in non-attainment areas with poor air quality, high poverty in rural districts, and fleets that are replacing older diesel buses. Funding will come from state appropriations, federal opportunities, industry, or philanthropic support, and the grants can cover up to 100% of the cost difference between diesel and electric buses. The Department of Education will also be empowered to audit grantees with biannual public reporting to ensure transparency and accountability. The bill makes sure that funds reach the communities who do need it the most. That includes those districts with high poverty levels, poor air quality, and those running on old buses. Pennsylvania has more than 42,000 school buses on the road, and most of these do run on diesel. The shift to electric school buses is more than just modernizing our transportation system. It is a driver of economic growth and long-term savings for Pennsylvania. School transportation is one of the largest ongoing costs for many school districts. While the upfront cost of an electric school bus is higher than diesel, over the life of the vehicle, electric school buses do save money. Lower fuel costs, fewer moving parts, and reduced maintenance mean districts can keep more dollars in the classroom instead of the repair shop. There's also a workforce opportunity. Transitioning fleets will require mechanics, electricians, and training programs. That supports local jobs and positions Pennsylvania as a leader in advanced vehicle technology. Finally, this program is designed to stretch state dollars wisely. It prioritizes applicants retiring older buses, as well as rural and high-poverty districts, ensuring that investments deliver the greatest impact where they're needed most. In short, HB 1539 is not just about buses, it's about long-term cost savings for school districts, supporting Pennsylvania workers, and making sure our state remains competitive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. D'Agostino, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Fiedler and members of the committee. So I represent Advanced Energy United, an energy trade association covering the wide spectrum of advanced energy technologies that lower costs and increase reliability for homes and businesses. I'm going to try to be brief here and summarize my points. I know time is short. Electric school buses, alongside the health cost savings you'll hear about from Alice today, can garner savings from maintenance costs as they require no oil changes, transmission repairs, or exhaust system replacements, and fuel costs. And on the subject of fuel costs, powering an electric bus costs the equivalent of just 14 to 20 cents per mile, compared to 40 to 50 cents per mile for diesel. And one thing I just want to highlight is that this is particularly beneficial for school buses that operate in sparsely populated areas. They're going to reap more of the savings here. And one estimate suggests that savings on annual reoccurring expenditures can reach higher than $100,000 compared to diesel buses over their lifetime. And this is before even accounting for the added value of battery capabilities. Speaking of which, electric school buses also serve as an often overlooked source of battery storage through vehicle-to-grid technology, which many manufacturers already offer. These buses can feed electricity back to the grid during blackouts or high demand periods, providing both resilience and new revenue streams. To illustrate this, the collective energy capacity of 25 electric buses, about 5 megawatt hours, can power roughly 110 Pennsylvania homes for a full day. Highland Electric Fleets, a pioneer and leading provider of electrification as service in North America, has demonstrated multiple applications of electric school buses in commercial vehicle-to-grid programs across U.S. school districts. In one district, electric buses have discharged more than 37 megawatt hours of electricity over 400 hours, generating nearly $90,000 in revenue. And research from the University of Delaware concludes that V2G benefits can amount to around $15,000 a year per bus. So if the bus's lifespan is 15 years, that's going to be more than $200,000 over the course of its lifetime. And in conclusion, this legislation allows Pennsylvania to continue to lead in the industry sector, reducing long-term costs, improving public health, creating good-paying jobs, and building a more resilient energy system. Electric school buses are not just cleaner vehicles, they are smart infrastructure investments that deliver lasting economic, environmental, and community benefits across the Commonwealth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And I do have some questions from your testimony, but I will hold them until everyone has spoken. We're going to go online for our next testifier. Before we do that, I do want to note that joining us in person is Representative Giral, and also joining us online, Representative Ingalls. Our third testifier is online. Ms. Queck, you may go ahead. I believe you are muted. We still cannot hear you. Sorry? I don't know. While we work on that technical adjustment, Mr. Slade, if I may ask, could you go ahead, please? I want to make sure we have time.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Willie Slade from Stilton Heights Fire School District, and I just have a brief statement. Finding ways to invest in our students despite a 15-year budget deficit is a priority. So when the district caught wind of the EPA Clean School Bus Program, a historic federal funding opportunity aimed at delivering low and zero emission school buses to communities across the United States, the district didn't hesitate. Stilton Heights Power received funding to fully cover the purchase of 6 new electric school buses through the program. And with the help of First Student, our transportation provider, this allowed the district to make an investment that would have been otherwise financially impossible. The funding also provided the district with $20,000 per charger, further offsetting the infrastructure costs and enabling a smooth switch to electric school buses. The switch to electric buses saves the district approximately $20,000 annually in fuel costs. Stilton Heights Fire's transition to electric school buses also helps to enhance community health in an area that has been harmed by decades of pollution produced by local industry. There are benefits that people sometimes don't realize with electric vehicles. Better air quality around our schools is important to the health of our students. In collaboration with Penn State Health, the district is undertaking a health impact study to monitor improvements in our air quality as diesel-burning school buses are replaced by electric models. This partnership not only supports ongoing health research, but also enables the district to engage students directly in the project. As part of our What's Best for Students mentality, Stilton Heights Fire is incorporating air quality data into the curriculum, allowing students to learn from real-time data and understand the impacts of sustainability efforts firsthand. Stilton Heights Fire has also used a solar array to cut energy usage and switch to renewable energy. Through a power purchase agreement with McClure Company, Stilton Heights Fire has been able to cut our energy bill in half, which also saves the district another $15,000 to $20,000 annually. These are wins for our district in a time when we need all the wins that we can get for our students and community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Slade. I appreciate it. We're going to give it one more shot online, and let's see if our fourth testifier is able to hear us and us to hear her. There's something about this basement hearing room that I do think is bad luck. It's happened before, I know. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I think that we are having some technical issues. I apologize, Ms. Quack, that we're not able to hear you at this point. I don't know what's gone wrong. I do know that we have your testimony in our packets, and certainly if at some point in the next 40 minutes you're able to join us, I would be glad to have you speak with us. The staff's gonna continue to try to make it work. So I do apologize and thank you for your testimony and your time. With that, we can move to questions. I have a question. Mr. D'Agostino, if we could start with you. I know I asked, please don't read your testimony, and you all did a fantastic job, so thank you for that. I do think that the beginning of the second paragraph of your testimony, and you hinted at it, or you said it, but rather briefly, on the savings is so incredibly important. As I said, I did get the chance to ride a bus at Steelton and talk with the bus driver, and it was awesome. I mean, the bus driver was talking about what a huge impact it made. The fact the bus was quieter, the behavior of the kids in some cases was different because the ride was smoother and less noisy. That's all important to me as a mom too. But I wanted to hear from you. If you could just emphasize for us the economic savings, please.
So I'll categorize it into three parts. The first part is fuel and maintenance cost. And the research that I've come across is that annual expenditures can amount to, over the course of the lifetime, $100K. And then there are the health costs, which are in Alice's testimony. And then there are potential costs from vehicle to grid, which is an innovative strategy to make sure that the battery is used as effectively as possible and that you can be monetized for it. And that's something that could happen here in Pennsylvania. And yes, research from the University of Delaware suggests that if the tariff is $28, so that's the assumption in that research per megawatt hour, then you can amount to about $15,000 a year per bus. So all those savings will bring you not just to parity, but beyond parity with diesel buses.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for spelling that out. So what are the economic challenges that schools face right now, or what are the obstacles if they do want to get some of these benefits by having electric buses in their fleet?
You're okay taking that?
I do think that we note here that electric school buses do have a higher upfront cost, but really want to show that there's not just savings on the economic front, but there's other benefits that you mentioned as well. I do think some of the challenges that we are seeing and what this grant program can do is really support charging infrastructure and depot upgrades for schools. Because, once you have a bus, you do need to have charging infrastructure in place. You need to have that ready to go. So we are seeing challenges in that realm in terms of the utility partnership with those school districts. But we are hoping that this program can really support not just the charging infrastructure and depot upgrades, but those planning and administrative costs that will go into that as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Joining us in person also now is Representative Donahue. Chair Causer, do you have any questions for our testifiers?
Thank you, Chair Fiedler. I guess as I'm thinking about this bill, I'm trying to look at some of the details and maybe you can expand on the cost issue for me a little bit. What is the difference in cost between an electric bus and a conventional diesel or propane or other source vehicle?
Yes, so from some recent Pennsylvania data, we are seeing that an electric school bus is around $320,000 to $380,000. compared to a diesel bus, which is around, I would say, $180,000 to $200,000. But again, I think in terms of the transition to an more advanced technology, you are seeing more of the benefits over the lifetime of the vehicle. And with this grant program, we want to support that as well and see that those dollars flow back into the school district from that.
What about the distance traveled? How far can you travel with an electric bus versus another source?
So I can't give you the exact range. I believe it's in my written testimony in terms of range, but you know, we are seeing that these duty cycles are very you know, best suited for electric school buses in terms of, you know, picking up children in the morning, being able to charge for a good, you know, 6 to 8 hours in that window where they're not, you know, driving around kids, and then having to pick up in the afternoon. So range is not a particular concern when it comes to these buses, and I don't know if Steelton can also speak to this a little bit. I know that they have some buses in motion too, but we are seeing that just with the duty cycle and the use case, that electric school buses are really good in terms of being able to not have to charge as much as frequently.
Yeah, for us as a small school district, we're not having any issues. We were able to use them in the morning to pick up our students and then take them home in the afternoon. And for the most part, most of our extracurriculars are using them as well, unless it's like a very long distance. Like we're talking an hour, 2 hour drive for if it's like something like that. Then we will use a diesel bus just because we're still learning the range on the electric buses, and we don't want to learn it the hard way. So we're kind of working on that. But the goal is for us is to use them as much as we can, and we, like I said, we use them daily for our regular pickups and drop-offs.
Part of your testimony, you know, advocates for use in rural areas, for example, and versus what you're probably using. There's some rural districts that are very spread out that would go a lot farther than in other parts of the state. So that might be concerning. As I look at this legislation, I'm trying to wrap my head around why we would limit it to electric buses from other fuel sources like propane, for example. You know, I have a school district in my district, the Bradford area school district, that has a complete fleet of buses that are all propane, for example. And that's certainly clean burning and plentiful here in our state. And I'm left wondering why we would limit this grant program to just electric buses, and would welcome any comments that you might have in that regard. I guess I'll preface that with saying even the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, who represents the school districts, are urging caution and not necessarily supportive of this bill. So would welcome your thoughts on that.
Well, one advantage of the electric bus program as opposed to the propane program is the electric bus's vehicle to grid program, and that couldn't be applicable for a propane program. Excuse me, and there's that extra revenue and that innovative solution there. So that's something that I think is a particular advantage.
I'll also mention, and I believe this is in my testimony, we have a great map that kind of shows the buses that are already committed in the state. There are a number of rural districts that have already deployed these buses. I'll just name a couple: Halifax, Northern Potter, and Troy areas. They are already operating those buses, and I do think that it's possible, and of course it comes with challenges, but we're trying to ensure that this program can kind of cover all of those challenges and really support. This is an economic opportunity for the state.
Well, would you support broadening the program to include propane, for example?
Have that conversation.
Yeah, we would be happy to talk about that.
Happy to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, the schools themselves are not are not asking for the program. It seems to be very limiting. If you're going to have a grant program to help school districts buy buses, why wouldn't you broaden it? What are your thoughts on that, sir? As a school district representative?
Yeah, I don't know much about propane buses, so I don't want to give a uneducated answer. I do know with us, our main concern were the health issues because we have a very unnormal amount of students with asthma, in a district, especially a district that is so small as ours. So I know that the environment it affects our students. So that was one of our biggest issues with the health part, and obviously the financials is because it is saving us a large amount of money with fuel costs. I don't know how the fuel costs would work with propane, and how much that would cost the district to use. But I know for us that those are the two biggest things are the fuel costs and the health effects that it has.
I'm sure other members have questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. D'Agostino, would you mind just speaking a little bit more about something that you mentioned in response to the chair's question related to the grid and how this could interact with that, if you would, and then we'll go directly to member questions.
Sure. So it could be a program in which the PUC and relevant utilities come together and develop a tariff structure and a compensation rate to ensure that the battery is being used not just when the bus is traveling, but also during important times during the day, and can get compensated. And this is particularly helpful if there's an emergency at a school, right? If there's a blackout at a school and, the bus has electricity, it can supply that school with energy and hopefully be compensated in the process. And that contributes to the cost argument.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Joining us in person is Representative Serrato. We will go now to questions. First, Representative Steele.
Thank you, Chair. To the minority chair's point, the propane buses are certainly interesting and an improvement over the traditional bus. But I'm from Pittsburgh, where we have big storms. Everybody's seeing more and more of these big storms. But because of our topography, which is steeply sided valleys, we lose power like crazy. For example, back in April, I had constituents that were without power for 2.5 weeks. I am the new owner, it's day 3, of an EV vehicle, which is so cool and fun, and the tech is really mind-blowing. If you haven't driven one, you've got to try it. But what's really especially appealing about this car is that we can use bidirectional charging to power our house for 3 days when we lose power, which is a regular occurrence. Our school districts in Pittsburgh are lining up for this kind of program because they can keep their schools open. Our kids were out of school for 5 days. 5. They would have been able to power those schools, keep the kids in schools. They could have set up in the parking lot to allow people to come and plug into the school buses and power their devices, power their medical devices, their phones. This is a game changer. If we are acknowledging that climate change is driving wider and more frequent and more intense storms, and we want to protect our communities from those implications, then this is absolutely something that we need to be prioritizing, and a propane-fueled bus just cannot serve our communities in that way. Thank you.
If it's all right, I just want to, I apologize. Can I make
No
an
problem. I was
additional
just going to ask Representative Steele if she had
sorry.
if her question was directed at one of our testifiers in particular. But yes, you're welcome to respond, of course.
Yeah, I also just want to highlight how particularly powerful the battery is. So once again, the collective energy capacity of 25 electric buses, 5 megawatt hours, could power roughly 110 Pennsylvania homes for a full day, right? And these batteries can last 15 years.
Thank you. I think that's an important point, especially when we see how quickly technology is moving. Our next question will come from Representative Armanini.
Good morning. Thank you for this interesting testimonies and so forth. Representative Still, I just have to ask you one question. I love that you have your new EV, and if the power goes out, you can charge your home for how many days?
It's 3 days for like the refrigerator and a couple of the essentials, lights in the main part of the house.
That's good, but when you go to drive your car that's been powering your house, how are you going to charge your car? There's no power.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, well, of course, you wouldn't drain your battery to zero, right? So you would plan. You would charge, you would drive and charge day 1, day 2, day 3. Chargers are abundant now. There's a charger just a few miles from my house and from many.
Right,
from many
but
people's houses.
again, you're stating when we have a blackout and power outage, and I just find it remarkable, but now we're using school buses as energy generating facilities. That, your point though, the bus can supply energy for days and days to keep the school open. How are you going to go get the kids if the bus is there at the school generating the electric to keep the school going? I really don't understand that thinking. And getting back to my original questions, when you were giving pricing on buses, you're a little off. As a matter of fact, my pricing that I received from Bluebird Bus Company in Pittsburgh states that an electric bus is about $430,000, and a propane is $160,000. Now, your electric bus where you're showing savings of, what was it, $170, I still show that $260,000 over. Where's the savings? I can almost buy 2 propane buses that are going to get the children to school. They're going to burn much more efficiently and cleaner than zero electric. Of course, everyone wants zero, and sometimes we can't attain that. But where is the savings? And how much money are you going to ask for this program? Remember, we're in a budget crisis. We don't have money in Pennsylvania right now. I find it hard that we want to add to the problem that we cannot correct right now. So, this is all good in nature, and I have nothing against electric, but I know when the power goes out in my home, Representative Steele, my natural gas whole home generator goes on, and I've got power that I can watch TV. I don't even have to worry about just running this appliance and that appliance. I have whole house usage, meaning in the winter, my house is warm, meaning in the summer, my air conditioning runs. And all my lights are on. Life does not change for me when there's a blackout. So I'm getting a little bit off track here. I mean, I can understand this, but I really think you're coming at to when you're, saying these school buses are going to be utilized as a tool to generate electricity. One, you're generating your electricity to power your bus, most likely from a natural gas or coal-fueled electric center. So you're bringing back into the grid something that you're using. I think the key here is to use on transportation, not these other things that the blackout, you're going to be able to do this. To me, that's nonsense. And, another thing that we have is the health concerns. How long are your kids on a bus that we're thinking that this is going to be detrimental to their health because of the clean air fact? Does a diesel school bus really generate that much that the 40, 50 kids that are in there, their health is significantly, influenced, that it's harming them? I think if that was the case, we probably would have done something years ago. You're just reaching, and I'll stop there because I just think this is an unuseful bill, and I definitely will not support it. But I thank you for bringing to light more nonsense that I already thought in my head.
Thank you, Representative. Would any of our testifiers like to respond or answer any of the representative's questions?
We could use Alice definitely to address the health concerns, but it's not like it's an added perk of the electric school bus that it supplies energy. It obviously won't be the only, it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of the energy puzzle. And that's one of the benefits, and it will bring in revenue at the same time. So that's what I'll say to this. I don't want to suggest that it's either or, right? Like the lights go out, oh, electric school bus comes by. I mean, it's beneficial for sure, but it's part of, it's one solution, one of many.
Thank you so much. And I know we do have a
Again, I just want to, if I can come back to you, how are you generating revenue? You're not covering the initial cost of that bus. You're saying you're going to make a savings of $170,000, but that bus costs you $400,000. Where's your savings?
So this would be a program implemented by the PUC, which has the authority to implement this program. And they would decide on they would work with the utility to decide on a tariff and a compensation rate. So with the research that I mentioned from the University of Delaware, for every megawatt hour that is supplied by the bus's energy, they receive $28.
Okay, so then again, you're making a deal with the PUC that eventually is going to fall on the seats of taxpayers and regular people because they're going to make up for the tariffs and the incentives that you want. I think we've done that enough in our Commonwealth. It's time for electric to stand on its own 2 feet.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you to all of our testifiers. I don't see any additional questions. I do want to note that in the members' packet is a rather hefty printout protecting Pennsylvania's children from diesel pollution, which includes pretty extensive information about health impacts. And it is unfortunate that our fourth testifier online, who does so much work on this issue, cannot join us, but that information is in the packet. And I do think it's been a couple years since I was a kid young enough to ride to school on a bus, but I do remember it pretty clearly, and I think the health impacts absolutely are a part of it. So thank you for being here, and again, unfortunate that our fourth testifier cannot be here to join us to talk about her work on this issue. Seeing that we have about 20 minutes left, do any members have questions? If not, we will go to closing remarks. You do have a question? Okay. Is it, may I ask, is it on the bill? Okay, thank you so much. Seeing as we are facing an energy crisis here in the Commonwealth, but also certainly nationally, I believe that we need to do everything we can to get more energy, to produce more energy, to keep people's bills down, and to make sure that when people flip that light switch, the lights turn on. I don't think that an energy crisis is on the horizon or coming. I think it's already here. I am very, very worried about people's utility bills. I'm very worried about the human cost of the energy crisis. And the fact that we're going to have people who may not have heat this winter, people who are not going to have air conditioning that they need to survive some of the dramatic temperatures coming next summer. And so I really believe it's incumbent upon us to find overlap and common ground where we can, and to get as much energy online as possible to avoid the worst projections. So thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to go to Chairman Causer for closing remarks in just a second, and then we will wrap up. But I really do believe that this legislation could be part of a bigger picture and a bigger solution. Chairman Causer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this hearing generated certainly a lot of questions. In my mind, the bill is not really very beneficial. It actually is a huge taxpayer handout of dollars that the schools aren't even asking for. They're not even advocating for. There's some misconception, I believe, that somehow electric buses are safer than other forms of energy, including diesel. If children on a bus are being affected by diesel fumes, then I think we need to check the bus and make sure that its exhaust system is properly installed. I think that the bill is ill-timed and, as I said, a waste of dollars for the taxpayer, to be honest with you. So I appreciate the testimony and appreciate the member questions.
Thank you, Chairman Causer. I do know that we've heard from a number of school districts across the Commonwealth recently who are interested in bringing fleets online, and I think you'll see in the back of the Electrification Coalition testimony a list and a map of all the schools in our Commonwealth that are already using some of these 145 electric school buses that are in more than a dozen districts right now. So. I think this is technology that can be useful to school districts and that some school districts are very interested in pursuing. With that, I would like to adjourn this meeting. It is 10:44. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the testifiers.